constitutional lawyer Mai Chen of Chen Power, Tēnā koe. Welcome to the program.
Kia ora.
You've met King Charles several times, you say. What's he like?
Not several times.
Oh, not several times?
I was head girl of Otago Girls High School, and he happened to be visiting Dunedin. So,
okay.
Look, I'd read the media, so my expectations were different from the actual. Look, he was highly intelligent, he was hugely knowledgeable, and I found him really thoughtful. He knew that I was head girl of a school that was the first all-girls school in the Southern Hemisphere. So we had a nice chat.
It's interesting, you point to the details that the Queen and obviously Prince Charles as he was then seem to have front of mind when they are meeting people all around the world.
Well, they're obviously well briefed.
Yeah.
So people have said to me, you know, what do you think about whether or not the monarchy's in good hands? Look, I don't have any doubt that it will be in good hands. I don't have any doubt that he'll do a great job. So I guess the issue from a constitutional reform point of view would simply be, is there a burning platform for anything?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know, most people are saying to me that the key thing about the world now, Simon, is that it's hugely uncertain. And so the Queen has been an amazing unifying force at a time in the world when actually there isn't much trust in political institutions. And when we look at what happened in the United States, you know, republicanism isn't all that it's cranked up to be. So all I'm saying is that our current system is quite interesting. It's kind of unwritten. We've kind of got a Constitution Act. We've got some provisions which are harder to amend unless you've got an extraordinary majority or a majority at a plebiscite. But a lot of it's held together by conventions, practices, usages. So it's not an issue. If you want to change to something else, that's fine. All I'm saying is it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Right, it's not just a switch-in, switch-out head of state for a new head of New Zealand.
You know, you can't just say, OK, we've got Cindy Kiru, or why don't we just call her president as opposed to the Governor-General? Well, is she appointed? Is she elected? What term is she elected on? Is it party political? What's her role? Is she going to hold the government of the day to greater account? So how is she going to do that? I mean, there are all manner of questions. And, you know, even yesterday we got a message. I'm a barrister now in Public Law Toolbox Chambers, but we got a message from our Chief Justice that just said, right, folks, from now on when you're suing the Crown, it's not the Queen and, it's the King and. So that's very small change, Simon. But if you're actually going to change the whole way in which public power is organised in our system, at the moment it flows down. There's a head of state. And then there are three branches of government. So if you're going to change the head of state and what the head of state does to a president and maybe give it powers and it's appointed, then what impact does that have on every part of the system? All I'm saying is at the end of the day, the way we've done constitutional reform in this country has two major characteristics. First of all, to be honest, there hasn't been that much appetite for it, except from Maori, who've been very strong about that. But, you know, at the end of the day, we have Cindy Kiru at the moment. And, you know, prior to that, we've had Sir Jerry Mataparai, and prior to that, we've had Sir Paul Reeves.
Yep. So you're saying Māoridom are represented in terms of being, you know, the head of state's representative.
Well, all I'm saying is that...
But is that good enough for them? That's the question.
Yeah, well, and I don't speak for Maori, and there's no such thing as Maori, just as there's no such thing as a single view for Pākehā, for all Asians and for all, you know, women. I mean, you'll have to ask them, and they'll have different views. There are iwi, there are hapu, they'll have views. And, so, you know, Sir Jerry Mataparai, for example, said that if we ever became a republic and we didn't have that relationship with the monarchy, that would complicate relations between, you know, the Crown Treaty partner and Maori. I mean, for example, I'm acting for an iwi at the moment. We're signing a deed of... We're working towards signing a deed of settlement. So there's all these treaty settlements going on. It's going on with the Crown. So if you've got a president as well as an executive, how does that change the whole conception of the Crown?
So, I mean, when you're talking to clients like that, are they, I mean, they're dealing with the Crown, as you say. Is there a concern that if you pull the Crown out of that and replace it with some other form of government, that they don't have someone to talk to or someone to deal with, or that it weakens their conversation, which was based on the foundational document? Yeah,
well, see, now that's a very good question. I don't know what the answer to that is, which is why people don't like public law, because it's kind of smoky. Yeah. But all I'm saying is this, that if you change something like that, then all of these issues arise. That's all. And there is history behind this. There was a history that resulted in, well, the Te Tiriti o Waitangi Maori version, but also the Te Tiriti o Waitangi English version. Dr. Ned Fletcher's just written a book about the English version. All I'm saying is that history is important. Having said that, the reality is right now, Simon, that we are effectively a republic. You know,
Right.
you know, we're governed. The power comes from the people, and actually we're governed by the government of the day. So the question is whether New Zealanders think there's a burning platform. You know, with the war in Ukraine and the tensions between China and the US, and you know the cost of living crisis, and
So it's not front of mind.
Well, all I'm saying is that the people have to want it, Simon.
Yeah. Okay. From what I'm gathering from you, are you saying it's too complex to change? I mean,
No.
And
Look,
you don't have a position. You don't have a position either way, do you?
Look, I'm a constitutional law expert. I just say life is difficult. You know, marriage is difficult. But if you decide you're going to do this, then you can do it.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that we just need to think it through. That's all.
But this conversation, I mean, now that we're having a changing of the monarch and the head of state, is this a time, or is it not, to have this kind of conversation?
All I'm saying is that you never stand in the same river twice. That's what Heraclitus said. And so, you know, we've heard what the new Labor government said in Australia about what they're planning to do. What impact will that have here? Having said that, the world is more complex and difficult and more uncertain than it was. So I just don't know what the people of New Zealand will want. But I do know one thing. It is important to have the kōrero. It is important to have the conversation. And I think that, you know, we need to talk to Māori. There's no such thing as Māori, iwi hapu groupings. We need to have the conversation also and continue the education, Simon, with the super diverse country that we've got. We've got a lot of people in New Zealand not born here.
Yeah.
And they don't know much about our
Well, that's right. So that was my next point. How are you going to educate, inform, bring along the tauiwi, the people who are not Māori and, you know, who haven't been living in, the migrants that have come into to the country? How are you going to bring them along with that conversation?
Well, it's so important that we do. And so what it tells me, as a person that's taught constitutional law for a long time, hardly anyone in New Zealand understands our constitution or how it works.
Well, there isn't one constitution. I mean, there's the Constitution Act, and then it's just, as you said, it just develops and it morphs and it's...
Well, what I'm saying is that it's a living constitution,
right,
so it doesn't stay still, and we don't have a written constitution as such. Well, having said that, we've got some pieces of legislation, but in 2013, when we had a constitutional reference, and Sir Tipani and Bill English decided that they brought out a report in 2013, and most people said, look, we don't actually want a supreme law. But we do want to continue to have a kōrero. We want to continue to talk about it. Actually, most of us don't know much about our constitution. I mean, if I was to say to you, Simon, tell me about the letters patent that governs the role of the Governor-General and the conventions and practices around it. You go,
I'd give you the same look I'm giving you now.
Well, look, I did my first honours thesis on that when I started law school sometime last century, OK? So it's kind of complicated, that's all. And if we decide to do it, no worries. But all I'm saying is that there will be a range of issues and we just need to be aware of that, that's all. If you ask me, is there a burning platform? Well, I don't think so. I mean, will King Charles do a great job? I have no doubt that he will. I mean, he was great last century. I've no doubt he'll be great this century. We were both younger then. Right.
Mai Chen, constitutional lawyer, thank you so much for your time.
Kia ora.
E whai ake nei. Was the Queen a feminist? Professor Jennifer Curtin.